Okay, shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasha Allah. Kuhuluyim la Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bahashim. Rakah HaKodash. Double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, not by the Spirit, taught us this beautiful truth. Just want to say the water to all the Akim and Akwaf that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to the best of their ability. This is Yachanan the Wach, just coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And these Edomites are getting a little taste of their own medicine. Since Iran creates selective oil lane through Hormuz as U.S. weighs Kharg Island seizure. Iran has carved out a controlled shipping corridor near Kharg Island, selectively allowing Chinese, Japanese, and Indian vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, right? Now we know China, don't fuck with the U.S. like that. Now Japan, that's one of the allies, and Trump made a real cruel ass joke, so to speak, with the Japanese prime minister, which that bitch shouldn't have been there anyway. So because women shouldn't be having those roles, man, as far as trying to be leaders, But he clowned the shit out of her ass sitting there, with a, a joke about the attack on Pearl Harbor, and she's sitting there looking stupid as hell. But from what I hear, she's saying that she's never coming back here anymore. But shouldn't have been here to begin with, because you shouldn't even be, the scriptures talks about a woman usurping authority over the man. That's going off, man. Your weak ass, and it just, all of them weak as hell though. But it's even worse when you're a woman, man. Anyway, and then you got India. Now, India, I guess with J.D. Vance, his little, his wife is supposedly Indian, you know what I'm saying? And, they kind of sent him there, I guess, to have a couple of little perks, I think, if it wasn't him, or, pretty much, he's kind of playing that play of, okay, well, my wife is Indian, this, and this, and they kind of have somewhat of some cordiality, I would say, for lack of better terms. But anyway, this is, it's going to be a real hit to America. And it's going to further escalate this war, rumors of wars. Because without that petrol, without that oil flowing, that's what, because America wouldn't be America without that petrol, man. You got this damn dollar now not backed by shit. And they're using this oil, been using this oil for the past 50 or so years. Then they had that pact with Saudi Arabia that they never re-signed that. If I'm not mistaken, they never re-signed that contract that they had with Saudi Arabia. And it had been like 50 years on, as far as that contract, but they were supposed to renew it and they didn't. So nobody's fucking with America like that. Like, America's not the America of 50 years ago, which Trump obviously think that they are. America's not the America they was 10 years ago. Shit, like this place is caving, man. But anyway, it's they have 29 sources on this article. Okay, so they got the BBC. Let's see here, they might be all right. They got Time. Ooh, man, it says Trump has launched a war without playbook. Trump has launched a war without a playbook for managing the economic fallout. Yeah. Now they trying to front like, gas prices are going to return to, it was already fucking high to begin with. Now all of a sudden, gas is at $4 a gallon, man. And the people, a lot of these megas, they're starting to, feel that crunch. Because, see, you had a few of them talking that shit about, oh, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it for the future. Yeah, all right, we're going to see how long you keep screaming that shit when you start to see everything that a truck has to bring in gets expensive as hell. But anyway, I didn't want to keep this long. Just a quick, we can dive into a little bit of the article, but I wanted to grab this in Psalms chapter 7. Because he's been using that oil. He's been using that petrol dollar to sanction the shit out of the world. Now, all of a sudden, they feeling a little bit of that heat themselves now. Because there's nothing they can do. They're trapped. Trump is trapped right now. Psalm 17 and 15. Psalm 7 and 15. He made a pit and digged it and is falling into the ditch which he made. That's exactly what this guy's done, man, because, he has run the world with that oil. Now all of a sudden, that shit is backfiring on him. Verse 16, his mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own pate. And that's what's going on, man. And I think it's one in chapter 9 too. So a few of these scriptures on yeah, man, you I think it's one is, let me see, matter of fact, that roll of stone. Because those people have been putting up with America's bullshit for quite some time. I'm trying to think how that's worded. I can't remember exactly. I think it's in Proverbs. Oh, yeah. Proverbs 26 and 27. Whoso diggeth the pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth the stone, it will return upon him. And basically, overall, Esau, he's just reaping what he's sown. And this is just the beginning. It's that Galatians 6 and 7 where it talks about how the Lord is not mocked. This man has been running throughout the earth pulling bullshit for quite some time. He has had a nice run. And these countries are starting to come up against him. Because you think Japan is going to say, no, we're not going to take this oil because we're down with America after this shit this guy just said? You think India? You think any of these places? Now Trump, he said some stupid shit talking about he doesn't need these other nations. He doesn't need his allies. Basically, he told them to, because really it was just him trying to brush off the embarrassment. But he was like, basically they wouldn't come to his aid. So he's like, well, we don't need them. And I was only doing that to see if they would, how they would reply. No, you was doing that shit because you really needed their fucking help. But you done shitted on them since you done been there. You doing all kinds of weird, crazy shit, and nobody's stopping this guy. So he has ruined America. I mean, this place is right set up to bring on in that microchip. But all it's going to take is just a lot more, just a little more chaos. You know what I'm saying? When I say quite a bit more chaos, because it's going to get to a point where when people can't afford groceries, they already see this COVID shit with that inflation. That's nothing compared to what's coming. That's nothing. That's they're going to wish those prices was around when shit really hits the fans, man. But this is Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived, Yahweh is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. In the Amplified, it says, do not be deceived. Yahweh is not mocked. He will not allow himself to be ridiculed, nor treated with contempt, nor allow his precepts to be scornfully set aside. For whatsoever a man sows, this and this only is what he will reap. Yeah. And that goes into a nation as well. You can get that in Job. Job 39 and 20. What is that? No. 39 and, is it 34 and 29? I think it's 34 and 29. Salakia. Yup. Job 34 and 29. Because the Lord, he deals with these nations. He set this nation up to pretty much be a prison camp for us Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But hey, our punishment is pretty much, that's a wrap. It's a done deal. We about to come outside and ride our bikes, baby. For real. And you motherfuckers is going on punishment. Job 34 and 29. When he giveth quietness, who then can make trouble? And when he hideth his face, who then can behold him, whether it be done against a nation or against a man only? So the Lord, he deals with nations of people, and he deals with the individual people within those nations. But overall, he deals with nations. All that, we're one people, we're, one race, the human race. That's a bunch of bullshit from Esau. That's not the case. The Lord created 18 nations. He chose one nation out of those 18, and he chose you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You are the Hebrew Israelites. These other nations, they're heathen. And they're going to pay for what they've done to the children of Israel, because all these nations have taken part in destroying us as a people. None of these nations have come together and said, you know what? We should give them their land, basically, or we should not even to give you some land. There's plenty of land on the planet. But this man, you think Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, will ever allow you niggas to fucking leave America or anywhere else that you've been enslaved at and give you actual and allow you to rule and govern yourself? Making deals with maybe China or making deals with maybe Russia or making deals with maybe India or Pakistan or anybody, you know what I'm saying, where you can transport, export, import, buy weapons, have your own military. You crazy? They're never allowing you to go nowhere, buddy. It's only going to take the Lord. Only the Lord can get us out of what we're in, man. Straight up. But let me get this Daniel 4:17 to just show that the Lord, he sets these nations up and he breaks them down. This matter is by the decree, Daniel 4:17, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High, Yahweh, ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the bases of men. So the Lord set these clowns up, and there's nothing nobody can do about it. That's why, you know, the Lord, he said to wait till I rise up to the prey, because us trying to buck up and trying to come against this man, you know, you got Jake out here doing all kinds of shit, you know, trying to avoid this this punishment that we're in. Basically, you it's nothing you can do. You're just basically you're kicking against the pricks. You're basically you're going against the Lord, and you're not gonna win. You got to let this process play out, and it's gonna play out just like how the Lord wants it to play out. And we're starting to see a part of this man's kingdom fall, man. But anyway, let's see what else they got in here. They got the damage to the world economy from the Iran war. It's already caused the biggest energy supply shock in history, and that's in The Economist. Iran war threatens prolonged impact on energy markets. Yep. Whew. Yeah, man. And hey, look, in 2 weeks, the gas done jumped $1, some change, I think. So just imagine another 2 weeks, because it's not going to stop. But let's see here. We can go into some of this. Let's go into the one in Fortune if we can get it. It's a lot. Okay, it says it's looking like Trump's war created a private oil lane for China and other countries willing to play ball with Iran. See? Why do you think they have China up there, you know, in the headline? Because they understand that China is one of America's biggest enemies. But you think, have you seen ICE going into any of these Chinese neighborhoods in America? Have you seen ICE rounding up any Iranians in America? Nope. Matter of fact, I was just on the phone with the OC the night before last, and you know, you hear all these, you know, I was just outside, and I'm thinking like, you know, what the fuck is going on with all these fireworks? I kept hearing fireworks, and I'm looking over to my, you know, I think that's south of me or whatever. But anyway, I don't live too far away from an Iranian neighborhood. I'm talking, they got their own city, not too far away here, right? A couple of miles down. But they out there celebrating. They fireworks. They 4th of July in it right here. Helicopters and shit flying, right? But you think? Have you seen ICE? You ain't heard about ICE going into none of these neighborhoods. Now these are just supposedly your enemies, but you rounding up the people that actually that actually believe in sweet white baby Jesus. See? So what's going on there? These people believe in white Jesus. You don't think these so-called Mexicans, these so-called Latinos, Dominicans, you know, these Spanish-speaking brown people that you're rounding up, they believe in white Jesus. They believe in white Jesus more than than these fucking Edomites. They have complete shrines in their houses, man, worshiping white Jesus. But you rounding them up. But you're not going to Moab don't believe in shit. The so-called Chinese, you know, they got their little Buddhist hookup or whatever. But they overall, they just some fucking heathen. They all heathen. But then you got these Iranians, they Muslims, they hardcore. They not, they why aren't you rounding them up? Anyway, okay, but it says Iran is asserting control over the Strait of Hormuz, even as the U.S. and Israel continue to bombard the country. First, by bringing traffic to a near standstill with attacks on ships, and then by choosing who can travel through the narrow waterway. So it's not closed. It's just that America, can't move shit through there. Now they're trying to do some shit out here in California, open up some old ass pipelines or some shit, and then they got a lawsuit on that. So you Americans with all your infighting, because that's a separation, that's that division. You can't come together on nothing. Here you go, a motherfucker trying to open up some oil lines to possibly get you some cheaper fucking gas. Then a motherfucker on the other side, he throws a monkey wrench in the game with a lawsuit that can carry on for 5 years. Because nothing here is processed, in real time. You can go to court, back and forth to court about some bullshit for 20 years here. Crazy, bro. Anyway, according to the Maritime News and Intelligence Journal, Lloyd's List, Tehran has carved out a de facto safe shipping corridor through Iranian territorial waters via Iran's Kharg Island, where the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Port Authority can make visual confirmation of approved vessels. Passage through the corridor is negotiated on a case-by-case basis, and governments of India, Pakistan, Iraq, Malaysia, and China have discussed transit plans directly with Tehran. Lloyd's reported on Wednesday one tanker even paid about $2 million as part of its agreement with Iran. Ooh, my goodness gracious. Hey, they got to get it, man. Hey, shit, hey, they ain't going to pass some costs. They don't care. They going to pass the costs on to your ass. Ships hoping to use the pre-approved route are expected to have communicated extensive details regarding both the ownership of the vessel and destination of the cargo to the IRGC in advance of the transit, Lloyd's added. Those details are being communicated via a series of Iran-affiliated individuals operating outside of Iran. Despite U.S. and Israeli forces disseminating Iran's military, including its navy, the Islamic Republic retains enough combat power to scare away commercial shipping from the Strait of Hormuz, keeping 20% of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas bottled up. That's created supply nightmares across the global economy. But at the same time, Iran's control over the strait means it is able to deliver oil to top customers, China, and continue generating vital revenues. Now, the alternate corridor through the strait represents a nascent ship registration system, and the IRGC is expected to establish a more formalized, approved process. At least 9 ships have exited the strait by way of Iran's alternate route, including India-flagged gas tankers. Okay, so that's still just a trickle compared to normal pre-war traffic, which topped 100 oil and cargo ships every day. Okay. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump is sending thousands of Marines to the Middle East. Amid reports, he is considering deploying ground troops to reopen the strait. See? So you can look for a draft. Some sources told Access on Friday that Trump is mulling an operation to occupy and blockade Iran's Kharg Island, which processes 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. With control of the island and leverage over Iran's economy, the U.S. could pressure Tehran to relinquish its chokehold over the Strait of Hormuz, according to a report, and easing the energy crunch that sent oil and gas prices soaring. But the Marines may not arrive for a few more weeks, and Navy officials have said the Strait of Hormuz is a kill box filled with Iranian threats that make it too dangerous for warships to enter. Neutralizing the risk may require landing troops on Iran's coast near the strait. U.S. allies in the Persian Gulf have reportedly warned that if Trump ends the Iran war without restoring free navigation in the strait, then Tehran will continue to have power to hold the regional and global economy hostage. So y'all should have thought that shit through. So although the White House signaled that Trump has no plans to send ground troops into Iran, the outcome of his war may depend on it. He wants Hormuz open. If he has to take Kharg Island to make it happen, that's going to happen. If he decides to have a coastal invasion, that's going to happen. But that decision hasn't been made. All right, well, Hey, well, that's pretty much it on the article. But I mean, hey, the motherfucker done went in, made stupid ass moves, man, and wasn't thinking shit through. That's why that council before going to war, it makes a difference, man. It makes a huge difference. And I'm sure somebody around him was telling him what's up. But at the same time too, you know, this, that the hammer of the earth is not the hammer of the earth anymore. But that's how Esau gets down, though. With that might, that military might, everything is not. Matter of fact, it's a scripture that talks about a wise king. I'm thinking it's it might be in Ecclesiastes. Is it Ecclesiastes? I'm not sure what chapter though. Where they talked about he was a poor wise man, but I'm trying to think. I know it. Yep, this is it. Ecclesiastes 9:15. Let me see here. Let me start at verse 14. No, let me start at 13. This wisdom have I seen under the sun, and it seemed great unto me. Now, this is King Solomon, right? There was a little city, and I'm not saying, I'm just using this as an example, you know what I'm saying, for what wisdom, because Trump don't have no wisdom. He has some worldly wisdom, and it's pretty much just, he knows how to work the courts. He knows how to, work the system, so to speak. That's his wisdom. But this guy ain't got no military wisdom, or, he don't have no spiritual wisdom. And he don't have no wisdom at all when it comes to, him being a president. I'll put it that way. Okay, but it says, there was a little city and a few men within it. And there came a great king against it and besieged it and built great bulwarks against it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no man remembered that same poor man. Then said I, wisdom is better than strength. See? That's the point there. Wisdom is better than strength. Not saying that they're the wisest people, but because, there is a such thing as worldly wisdom. But, we move in spiritual wisdom. That's what you want to move in. It says, then said I, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. So, they look at us, the men of the Lord, they despise us, because they see us, we just, regular guys, you know what I'm saying? We're going back and forth to work. Might not have the prettiest car, may not have the prettiest home, whatever the fuck. May not get all geared up and be out here with the latest shit on, whatever. And they look at us like we just pieces of shit. Right? But in the meanwhile, you got all that shit and you're being destroyed and don't even know it. Verse 17, it says, the words of a wise man are heard and quiet more than the cry of him that ruleth among fools. See? Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good. See that? Let me see how that reads in the Amplified. The words of wise men heard in quietness are better than the shouting of one who rules among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Yeah, man. See? So Trump is not moving in wisdom. He's moving in that might. He's trusting in, matter of fact, what's that? That Isaiah 31. Basically 30. Let me see. Yeah, 30. Let's go to 31. Isaiah 31:1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt. Let me read that in the Amplified. Woe, judgment is coming to those who go down to Egypt for help. And America is spiritually Egypt. That's why you have a lot of Egyptian customs here. A lot of people don't really know that, America is pretty much an Egyptian country. Because Esau don't have this motherfucker, he steals everybody's culture. Anyway, it says, woe, judgment is coming to those who go down to Egypt for help, who rely on horses, right? This is Esau. He relies on his might, military might, and trusts in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they do not look to the Holy One of Israel, nor seek and consult the Lord Yahweh. And you got this guy, Peach Headset. He talking, yeah, we're relying on God. He praying Psalms 144. All in the name of sweet white baby Jesus. No beard on his fucking face. He's the Secretary of War telling Jake, you know what I'm saying, that he don't want to deal with no men that got beards on their faces. Well, King David had a beard. The men of the Lord had beards. He running around and shit with that clean ass face, and they need to keep him off TV because it's cringing listening to that guy speak, man. The way he talk, it's just like, okay, you don't read well. You have a position of standing there and actually speaking as a man. You trying to read off a damn teleprompter looking stupid. It just don't go together, man. Anyway, I'm gonna end out there, man. I didn't want to keep it long. I just, I seen a couple of articles, on this. This is a bad look for America, man. This is a bad look, and shit not about to get no cheaper, bro. You wait until these summer months come in. When these motherfuckers can't barbecue for their 4th of July, that's when these people gonna fucking lose it, bro. Your ass trying to get some goddamn barbecue fluid. You trying to get some lighter fluid for your barbecue grill. These people gonna lose their fucking tube of that shit, and gonna hit your ass over the head for $20. Motherfuckers gonna be like, fuck barbecuing. Anyway. Yeah, man. This is a shit show, and it's a beautiful thing, man. We're watching the fall of our enemies, so continue on praying for the downfall of this place. We can't stress enough. Continue praying for the downfall of Esau's kingdom, man. That's a part of our arsenal, that prayer, because we're seeing a lot of beautiful prophecies play out. Yeah, shit gonna get a little tough, but hey, the Lord said He's gonna provide for us, so we don't give a fuck. We live in day to day anyway. We don't care. We praying that gas gets more expensive, food get more expensive, that people feel the fucking crunch, man. We're not hanging on to this place. We don't give a fuck. And if you talking to anybody that want relief, then you know that they're an enemy of the Lord, man. For real. It's just straight up. They're enemies of the Lord, and they're your enemy as well. So just pay attention to how people be kicking it. Anyway, with that, this is Salawat.